Good afternoon. Today, SAQ, the Swiss Association for Quality, and Xelyo Belgium together represent 100 years of quality. And we are here to celebrate the 40 years of Xelyo and the 60 years of SAQ Switzerland. My name is Ann Kind and I'm the director of Xelyo. And we are a network organization of members across all sectors that share the ambition to come better tomorrow than today by sharing insights and good practices. Let me introduce you to my colleague and friend, Priska Zamaretti. Priska?
Thank you, Anne. My name is Priska Zamaretti. I'm the director of the SAQ, the Swiss Association for Quality, and we are for Switzerland a cross-industry umbrella association for quality. We are a leading provider of knowledge and expert community in education in Switzerland and a trusted authority in personal certification. And our slogan is like fostering quality, innovation, and sustainability with certified standard across branches. And to celebrate our combined 100 years of quality, we decided to look toward the future instead of looking at the past. And the future talks are 3 webinars with different topics that may define the future for quality. So today is our second webinar. And we have the pleasure to talk about sustainability and quality with the European Green Deal. And our third webinar will be on September 25th, 2025, and we will talk about agile supply chain. So we have experts from Belgium and from Switzerland, which will introduce the topic and present business cases for their countries. And a quick service announcement that all of your questions will be taken care of at the end of the presentation, and where we have planned also a plenary discussion. And now let me introduce our keynote speaker, who is Ursula Grunder, and she is the president of SAQ, and she was previously in a large company taking care of all what was related to the European Green Deal. And Ursula came initially from banking and finance, and then she moved into the world of technology in Siemens, and she had a career worldwide in the area where she made the fire and smoke detectors, and she was confronted with a challenge. All those devices contain a metal that can't be used any longer on the market because of the Green Deal. And so she started to get interested in more and more on this topic, and she was leading this for several years for Siemens Building Technology. And since this year, we have the honor to have her as a president of the Swiss Association of Quality and as a keynote speaker today to give us the introduction on the Green Deal. So thank you, Ursula. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Priska. The European Green Deal between vision, reality, and business action. Good afternoon, everyone. It's a real pleasure to be here today with colleagues from Belgium, Switzerland, and beyond. All of us sharing a strong focus on quality, performance, and responsibility. My role this afternoon is to set the stage for 2 business cases you will hear shortly, with a brief look at the topic that's as strategic as it is complex, the European Green Deal. Why now? Because the Green Deal is no longer a distance policy plan from Brussels. It's becoming a central driver of business transformation, and at the same time, it's facing increasing pressure and resistance. But what is the European Green Deal? Let's start with a quick reminder. The European Green Deal is Europe's strategy to become the first climate-neutral continent by 2050. It's built on several pillars: clean and affordable energy, sustainable transport, circular economy, preserving biodiversity, and, crucially, aligning the financial system with sustainability goals. It's not just a climate plan. It's a new model for growth, one that's intended to be fair, resource efficient, and resilient. Let's do a political reality check. Reality is catching up with the vision. In recent months, we've seen political resistance growing across Europe. Farmers have taken to the streets, citizens are raising concerns about affordability and speed of transition. Although the European Union elections have already taken place in June 2024, their impact is now becoming visible. And with important national and regional elections continuing across Europe in 2025, including in Germany, further shifts in political momentum may influence how fast and how far the Green Deal progresses. Some elements have already been softened or delayed, such as rules on building renovation, the phase out of combustion engines, and timelines for implementation. A concrete example, many of you are already dealing with the CSRD, the Corporate Sustainability Reporting Directive. It's one of the cornerstones of the Green Deal. It aims to bring sustainability reporting up to the same level as financial reporting, structured, comparable, and audit-ready. But here too, we are seeing adjustments. The term CSRD Light is gaining traction. Why? Because many small and mid-sized companies, even some large ones, feel overwhelmed. So there are active discussions in Brussels about simplifying indicators, reducing mandatory disclosures, and phasing in requirements more gradually. The message to companies is stay on course, but stay alert. The rules may evolve, but the expectation of transparency is here to stay. The Omnibus regulation adopted as part of the broader Green Deal architecture revises key European Union funding instruments, primarily under the Common Agriculture Policy GAP and cohesion funds, to align them with the European Union's environmental and climate objectives. 3 points define its importance: policy coherence and simplification. The Omnibus regulation streamlines multiple pieces of legislation, ensuring funding mechanisms under GAP, Horizon Europe, and cohesion policy are climate aligned and more responsive to member states. Flexibility with accountability. It grants member states more flexibility to tailor implementation while reinforcing the environmental and climate monitoring frameworks. This ensures that funds are not just spent, but spent wisely with measurable green outcomes. Third, enabling the green transition in rural and regional areas. Crucially, the regulation embeds the Green Deal into local context, empowering regions, farmers, and small-medium enterprises to adopt greener practices through targeted fundings, carbon farming, incentives, and innovation partnerships. The message here is clear. The direction remains, but the path may become more flexible. Businesses need to stay committed but agile. What does all of this mean for us? For us as quality experts? First, there's a compliance angle. You need systems, processes, and data to meet these emerging standards. But more importantly, there's a strategic opportunity. The shift puts quality teams in a central role, not just to measure performance, but to drive sustainable improvement, manage risk, and ensure credibility. In fact, I believe sustainability will become a new dimension of quality, not a separate topic, but one fully embedded in how we define excellence. Let's also not forget the opportunities. The Green Deal opened doors to innovation, new markets, better alignment with customers and investors, and access to European funding and support, especially for projects that combine Green Deal and digital innovation. But these opportunities come with a condition. You must be able to demonstrate your impact, your progress, and your integrity. So, if I had to summarize in 3 key points, first, the Green Deal remains the strategic direction for Europe, even if the route gets adjusted along the way. Second, regulations like CSRD will evolve, but they won't disappear. Being prepared and agile is essential. And third, quality professionals, like all of you, are unlikely positioned to drive sustainable progress, manage risk, and ensure credibility, going beyond reporting to creating real impact. So, and let's get into practical. We've looked at the bigger picture, the goals, the politics, the implication. Now let's turn to real world. You'll hear 2 business cases that show how companies are navigating the Green Deal, how they're implementing sustainability in concrete terms, how they deal with complexity, and how they find value in transition. As you listen, I encourage you to ask yourself, what part of their journey could inspire action in my own organization? Because in the end, the Green Deal isn't just a policy, it's a framework for action. And it's up to us, businesses, citizens, and leaders, to shape how it becomes reality. Thank you for your attention. And now let's dive into the cases. I would like to introduce you to Barbara Spörri. She's the Global EHS Head, Environmental Health and Safety Head of Siemens Smart Infrastructure Buildings, and will give us an overview how Siemens is dealing with the topic. Thank you very much. Barbara, it's your turn. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rosie. Quickly share my screen. Hello from my side. Happy to be here. Presentation mode, 1 second. So I would like to give a bit of an insight into what does the EU Green Deal mean for us within Siemens. And I had the underlining headline, reporting held or opportunity, because that's actually also a discussion we have internally within Siemens about what it is for us. So we heard already quite a lot about the European Green Deal, so I will not, I don't want to repeat what Ursula just was saying. Nevertheless, you see here on the slide on the right-hand side, the 10 major strategic directions from the European Green Deal. I will today mainly focus into the reporting aspect and what it means for us within Siemens, but you see it's really a holistic approach tackling topics around circular economy, farm to fork when you come more from the farming side, the financial reporting topic, the financing topic. So it's really the European Union tries really here to have a holistic approach about all the different angles of sustainability. We hear a lot in the past 10 years, I would say the focus was very much on the topic of climate, reduction of the climate change impacts. But I think European Green Deal is much more than climate. And I think for us, at least in Siemens, climate is maybe, it's definitely not the most challenging aspect anymore when I look at it. And you see here in the bottom the sentence for technology-driven DAX companies like Siemens. It presents both high impact opportunities and implementation challenges. And here I want to have a little deep dive on what I mean by it. About 2 or 3 years ago, we started with an overview on the European Green Deal. Green Deal is a buzzword. It has nothing really stands behind it in the sense of legal regulatory policies. So we started to say, okay, what does it really mean? What kind of policies come out of the European Green Deal? And this is definitely not it's not covering everything. We really looked at it from a Siemens perspective. What regulatory frameworks are really tackling us within Siemens? And you see also we tried to structure it a little bit because, of course, in a company like Siemens, you have also different people tackling the topic at the end of the day. And we had a lot of discussions. Who is now owning the topic? Who is driving it? Who is doing the impact analysis? And who is driving the measures out of the impact analysis so that we can ensure that we will be compliant. Of course, the European Green Deal, you heard it also before, is changing a lot. They change different policies all the time, and it's for us also a huge challenge to keep up with these changes, to be up front. We don't want to really run behind it, but in the best case, of course, we try to also influence the policies already in advance in Brussels. So it's a huge challenge for us to keep up with all these different legacies. So here you see about 60 different policies on the slide. I don't will deep dive on the different angles, but today I would like, as I said, to focus on the reporting aspects, mainly on the EU taxonomy. You might heard it, and like Ursula said, on the CSRD, on the Corporate Sustainability Reporting Directive. Maybe one very important statement also from the European Union, but in general, and it's also true for us, every transformation starts with transparency. Only if you know what you are talking about and if you have the data, you can really say where you stand and what it means for you, and then also in what direction you want to transform. And all the information I will now provide from now on, it's about data. It's about data transparency, it's about the value chain. It's not only about Siemens, it's also about our suppliers, about the suppliers of our suppliers, and about our customers and end users. And I think this makes it so challenging. And we also said it's a little monster actually for us also to tackle, because we look really at the whole value chain. So we heard now already quite a lot about the term CSRD, and I'm not so sure how familiar you maybe already are with the topic CSRD. So the Corporate Sustainability Reporting Directive is, as the name states, a directive. Means the European Commission gave a skeleton, a framework, but at the end of the day, it has to be implemented by all member states individually, and the member states have also the opportunity or the possibility to change it and to adapt it to the level they want to have it. This makes it even more complicated for a company like us to say, okay, can we really fulfill the requirements in all different member states? So in general, the CSRD is a binding regulatory framework from the EU Commission that basically applies from fiscal year 25 onwards. Means we are in the reporting year now where the companies have to report. It amends the non-financial reporting directive, the NFRD, which you might have heard, but it extends really the scope. So not all, way more companies have now to report under the CSRD than this was the case under the NFRD. That's maybe very, very important. And it also lifts the sustainability reporting to the next level and sets new standards as it expands the sustainability reporting, both in the demands for information, that's one thing, but also in the transparency. And I said it before, the number of companies affected is tremendously increasing under the CSRD directive. Besides that, it standardizes the report and of quantitative and qualitative information. Means basically the idea of the CSRD, what stands behind is that we can compare companies, that we can look at the different sustainability reports or annual reports and say, hey, this company is so sustainable in comparison to that one, it's much better or much worse. Because it's really a standardization of the topic sustainability reporting, and that's unique. And it includes a mandatory digital tagging with the European single electronic format. It was basically a QR code where you can then really compare apples with apples. Also, the first time we see something like that in a regulatory framework. The structure and the reporting requirements are given by the European Sustainability Reporting Standards, also called ESRS. You might have heard it, and there are several ones. You have environmental standards, you have social standards, and you have governance standards. So it's also ESG, basically is the structure of these ESRS standards. And under environment, you have then topics like climate, circular economy, pollution, water, biodiversity, you name it. So that's basically the ESRS standards. They tell us what we have to report at the end of the day. Also, a new topic is the topic of the double materiality assessment. I will not go very deep into that, but in general, it means that we have to assess two dimensions, the financial materiality and the impact materiality. So what it means for us as a company, and also how do we as a company impact the planet. That's basically very simple terms what this double materiality means. The sustainability information, I said it before, will then be really part of the annual report. So there will be not any more financial report and a separate sustainability report. It will be really integrated into one report. That's also something which is new for Siemens. So far we had two reports, a sustainability one and a financial one. In the future, we will have one report as the CSRD requests. The idea is really also to have a very comparable to the financial information. There will be third-party audited also sustainability information. At the beginning, it will be limited assurance. The idea is from 2028 onwards that this is the same level as also the financial reporting, reasonable assurance. So what are the objectives of the CSRD? I said it before, it's all about transparency. And therefore, this is really through integration of information in the annual report, they want to have to increase the visibility and the importance of sustainability while strengthening the reliability of the data with third-party audits. So because it is third-party audited, they say, okay, we can really compare it. We can really compare the data with other companies, and we can really, it's not about greenwashing, it's really audited and clear that we can only publish topics which are also past our auditor's view. What else do I have? I said it's third-party audited. We extend the scope. So from today's sustainability report, the CSRD really extends the scope heavily. It's also not about cherry picking. We are obliged to report really the big scale here. You can do materiality assessments. So say, okay, for example, for Siemens, maritime topics are out of scope because we are not doing any maritime business. Or food is out of scope. We are not in the food sector. But you have to really argument why you exclude certain elements and why it is not relevant for your company. Otherwise, you have really to present a holistic view. And even though if you have to say we have nothing in there because we don't have data, we have not tracked it so far, you have to state that. You have to state that you're blank on that side, and then you have to share what you're doing, what you think, what you are planning to change that in the upcoming years. The idea is, of course, that with the standardized reporting, to improve the comparability. I said it before, and why do they want to have comparability? It's, of course, at the end of the day, to stimulate investors to have a certain money flow into green business, and to also fulfill stakeholder expectations, but also for new employees, potential new employees. It can also be a channel to see how sustainable your future employer is, or maybe not is. Yes, and I said it's also the topic of integrate sustainability-related risks and opportunities into business strategies and processes. So you have to share also your strategies, what you plan to do, how you include it in your processes, what you change in the upcoming years. So to make that very, very transparent. So for us, when we started with the topic CSRD, it was very clear that it will be a challenge. It is a challenge because it's such a holistic framework for both also the EU taxonomy. I will not go into taxonomy very, very deep, but nevertheless, we cannot do it. We cannot just say it's an EHS topic and you have to take care of it, or it's a sustainability topic and our sustainability department has to take care of it. But we need a lot of different stakeholders in order to do it. It is a challenge. It is really the volume of tasks, the timelines. I said it at the beginning, the uncertainties. Also, the regulation changes all the time. So it's also new for us. We have to. It's a green field. We start somehow, and then we try it out, and we change, and we adapt, and somehow we step by step we reach the target. We have to do it as a team. We have to have a cross-functional collaboration. We have to have an open communication. It's not about finger pointing here. It's really about open dialogues, and the little bubble at the bottom. Also a bit about fun, right? We look at it as a chance for Siemens, a chance for us to grow also as individuals, and that's very, very important. For us, the CSRD reporting has a significant impact of our Siemens, of the way how we report sustainability information. I said it before, also we have to report the first time now this fiscal year. Siemens fiscal year ends in end of September, so we will release the first CSRD report by the end of the year. So we can already a bit sneak in one or the other company who has to do it now already. But in general, we are first dry run, by the way, comes up now in June. So it's also for us new. I said it, the increased volume of ESG data is a challenge for us, a huge one actually, especially as we have to deliver primary data from fiscal year 28 onwards. That's now for the moment we work also with secondary data, but the idea is of course to have primary data as soon as possible, and especially when it comes to our supplier data, this is one of the major challenges we have. It's really the volume of data, then also the verification of the data. This is a huge challenge. Then the double materiality approach is a new approach. We have never seen that before. It's not so easy to do that. Also here, it's about try and error to see if we handle that in the right manner. And actually, we learn also together with the auditors, I have the feeling. Audit-proof documentation. Here, I said it, currently we have the target of limited assurance, means we can work with secondary data. We don't have to prove every single nitty-gritty detail, but the idea is from 2028 onwards. Also here, it will be a reasonable assurance, which means really we have to have the tools ready. They have to the auditors can pick as a single example, and we have to show them into the nitty-gritty details why we report like we report. So this is a huge challenge to keep up here with the timeline. New processes, and internal controls, very important, as we have to also verify the data, need to ensure that we don't publish here any bullshitting. So this is really something which goes hand in hand also with the increased volume of ESG data, and also with the last point, the IT infrastructure. We don't have it yet ready to just press a button and then all the data come up which we need for the ESG or for the CSRD reporting. So we work heavily on our IT infrastructure, on our internal IT infrastructure to ensure the data flow so that we can handle this increased data need. And that, of course, we bring that also back to our suppliers and say, hey, dear supplier, we need more data from you. It's now really about, when we talk about the environment, substance data, it's about packaging data, it's about recyclability data, it's about secondary material. And especially smaller suppliers look at us and say, oh, you're crazy, we cannot provide you this. But yeah, you know now where it is coming from. Exactly, so I need to speed up a little bit. Yeah, I will jump here a bit because we are out of time. I said that already. It's about, for us, the new CSRD KPIs. We use that also now for our new performance management. We adapted also our internal strategy along the CSRD KPIs because it just helps us to track where we stand. We started also new initiatives. Also, our risks and opportunities are now built around the CSRD reporting. And of course, our target is to become the sustainability and to be a sustainability leader here. And the word credible is very important. Of course, we don't want to report today something which we have to revise tomorrow. So it's very important that we really can rely on our data and what we also publish towards the outside. So it's for us not only about being compliant, but it's really also about becoming the leader here and to challenge ourselves to say, okay, what do we have to do in order to progress here and to become better? And as I said, we have already quite a high level of knowledge and expertise in the field of climate. We have maybe not so much yet on the field of biodiversity, and it's an opportunity to really say, okay, we use that as a chance to be here also a front runner and to try out new things. So we talked now a lot about challenges, but I want also to share a bit. There are also a lot of benefits for Siemens. I said it, for us, it's a business opportunity. Siemens operates already in this green transition, and of course we try also to help our customers in that field to automate with to handle the data. So we see that really as a huge business opportunity to bring also this green innovation to the market. It's not only about CSRD, but it's really the Green Deal helps, at least for us, for Siemens, it's a huge business opportunity to sell our products and solutions to the market. Second topic is the topic of access to green capital and funding. Also here, it's a challenge, and we support our customers also to get access to this green capital and funding, and with that also the money at the end also comes to us. So it's not about here it's not about only that the money from the EU directly comes to Siemens. We do that, of course, with Horizon, for example, for R&D. But we tried also for our customers so that they can finance their projects better. And then the ESG-driven brand and talent appeal, I said it, of course, the idea is also to be attractive for potential new talents, which should work in the future for Siemens to can really prove that we as Siemens are a green company. Challenges, very quickly, I think I talked a lot about it. It's the complexity. It's a huge challenge for us, the complexity. The data management, challenging new data to get to the data, and then also what are we doing with the data. And the regulatory volatility and the political uncertainty as we always have to keep up with the new developments. Here's my summary slide. I talked a lot about the left side, maybe key roles within Siemens who today work on the topic, and it's not exclusively those, but it's really sustainability, EHS, the product development, SCM and procurement, tax and customs, data and IT, and maybe what is a bit missing here is also the HR department. There's quite a big group working on the topic of EU Green Deal reporting, making the thing happen. And we cannot do it alone, so it's not only about Siemens. I said it before, it's really along the whole value chain. We need also every small supplier, we need the stakeholders here, we need our customers to make it happen. 2 minutes over, but I hope I'm done here.
Thank you very much, Barbara. It was very interesting to listen to your story. But as we have discussed, we will keep the questions for the end that are undoubtedly forming in everybody's mind. We will now go to the second case from Belgium. And as the EU Green Deal forces companies to reflect on the creation of sustainable value, it's often believed that this is different or even conflicts with the creation of shareholders' value. Dirk Ingels, the R&D director of Aluminium Duffel, an associate professor at the Vrije Universiteit Amsterdam, argues that this is not the case, and he will present some frameworks to support the creation of sustainable value. Moreover, there is a link between the creation of sustainable value and the quality of products. Historically, the Edo period in Japan illustrates this nicely, but also today the circular economy revalues the importance of long-lasting value. And during the task, this will be illustrated with some examples. Dirk, I hope especially you will talk so much about the Edo period, but go ahead, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you for the introduction, Anne. This makes the... Yeah?
I'm sorry to interrupt, but you need to switch displays, because we see your notes at this point.
Oh, all right.
Yes, so display swap presenter view. There you go. Thank you.
Okay, great. So thank you, Anne, for the introduction, and I can already go faster on the first slide. Let me first introduce the company I'm working in. That's Aluminium Duffel. We are a rolling mill situated in Duffel, Belgium, in Flanders, in the northern part of Belgium. Founded in 1946, working with around 1,000 people and producing at nominal capacity about 200,000 tons of aluminum each year. This goes into applications that have a link with sustainability and with the sustainability transition. For instance, we are a key supplier in automotive body sheet, which is used in battery electrical vehicles to make them lighter. But it's also used in other applications such as building and construction, pharmacy, and others. Also, maybe energy is also a sector worthwhile to mention. We, as a company, make use of primary aluminum, but also of scrap. So, as you can see here in the introduction chart, out these 200,000 tons of aluminum produced each year is made out of almost half of scrap. Now, since we want to have a talk here about the link between sustainability and quality, let's then first go to what's the root cause of the problem. Why are we talking about sustainability and what's our today's challenge? Here on the graph, you see 3 lines, and the 3 lines are all related to each other because they relate to the impact that we have on the environment, the human impact on the environment, which is function of population growth and affluence. Affluence is our welfare creation. So both lines are increasing lines. And yeah, the line below is the impact, is how much we are above our carrying capacity. And as you all know, it's more than 1, so meaning that we are consuming more than 1 Earth. And at the end, this is unsustainable, because if you stay too long above the carrying capacity, then your system, and in this case our ecosystem, will become less viable. So therefore, in the equation of Elrich and Aldrin, we have to rely on technology to bring this back, the impact of back below 1, so back on a sustainable level. So we need technology, and technology is not only that we have to shift from carbon energy towards renewable energy, but it's also about recycling. And therefore, as also mentioned in the introduction by Ursula, the mainstream solution and also the solution of the Green Deal is focusing on green growth, meaning that we still foster a growth, economic growth, but at the same time, we try to decouple the impact on resources and also the impact on the environment. Now, question can raise, how good are we doing this currently? And since this is a global problem, I will show you here the graph on a global perspective. So when we take 1990 as, let's say, the calibration point, then we see with the dotted line that the global CO2 emissions are gradually declining compared with the growth in GDP, so the growth in welfare, the economic growth. But nevertheless, it's still a soaring line. So it's not yet that we are at the point that we are declining or even a steady state situation in CO2 emission. And that's worrying. But the actions that we should take is to further embrace the circular economy and speed up with the implementation of the circular economy. Now, what's the circular economy about? It's depicted here in what is called the butterfly model of the Ellen MacArthur Foundation. And you see the 2 wings on the left-hand side, you see the consumables. On the right-hand side, you see the durables. We, as a company, Aluminum Duffel, is producing a durable aluminum because it remains forever. And so, and in the middle, you see the energy. So the circular economy is powered by renewable energy. Currently, on a global scale, we only recycle 20% of all the durables. So we have still a long way to go. And also on the energy side, we are, I think, about the same percentage of energy, about 20% of the energy currently used is renewable energy. So we have still a long way to go. But having this said, let's focus now on the right-hand side, so the durables. And you see there consecutive circles. And so the inner circle is about sharing and the outer circle is about recycling. Now, these circles have a meaning that the inner circle is the most circular in the way that it consumes less of material and energy, and the outer circle consumes most of the resources. So what we should aim in a circular economy is, first of all, putting focus on a sharing economy, maintaining and prolonging the life cycle of products, then reuse them, refurbish them, and if there is no other option, to recycle them. Now, this butterfly model has a link with quality in all its aspects. So for sharing, maintaining, and prolonging, the focus in quality is that we design our products so that they are reliable and durable, and also that they are easy to maintain and repair. For the next two, on remanufacturing and reuse of the products, we have other challenges. The challenges are there. Material that is worn out has to be taken into account, so we have to do repair actions. We have also to focus in the design of the products that they are durable. Also, reusing components may give variations in product quality. And for both, we also have to take into consideration that consumers might perceive a product in which reused components are used, for instance, that it has a lower quality compared to complete new products. Also, recycling comes with some quality expectations and potential problems. Here we can speak about, for instance, material degradation. If we reuse metals, for instance, we might introduce what's the so-called tramp elements, so low in volume but unwanted chemical elements that may alter the end characteristics of the products made out of this material. Now you can wonder, okay, this is a large journey that we still have to go. Are we now the first confronted in history with this problem? And the answer is no. As an example, we can rely on Japan, and more specific, the Edo period. So Edo is the former name of the capital of Japan, which is Tokyo. It was formerly named Edo. And in the period between 1603 and 1867, Japan was nearly living in what can be called a splendid isolation. So it was isolated. They self-isolated themselves from the world, and they had to be self-sufficient. To give you a number, for instance, today Japan relies for 78% of its energy from import, and for 82% of its food supply also from imports. So Japan has not that much of internal supply, although in this period they managed to do so, and they had to shift their mindset. The mindset had to shift towards the full utilization of limited resources. So this is something we also have to do today, when we want to tackle our current sustainability problem. And this period is considered as a period with a large equality between men and women, with a lot of developments in science, with a lot of activities on culture levels. And it was also a period characterized with a high safety and a high, let's say, content of people. People were pleased to live in that period. Since there was a high focus on waste and on avoiding waste, it's no surprise that the Toyota production system early in the 20th century also focused on eradicating waste. So the lean manufacturing is a direct consequence of the sustainable society that was established in Japan during the Edo period. Now, going back to our current era, the question is, can sustainable value currently also be created in our mass production, mass consumption society. And therefore, I use the framework of Art and Milstein, who has done research on this question. And they state when you look to shareholder value, then it's a matter of tension between focus on what you do in daily business and focus what you will do on the long term. And it's also focus between creation of internal value and value for customers and for society. So if you look to these quadrants, then in all these quadrants, you have a focus where you can create shareholder value or how you can create shareholder value. So this can be with cost and risk reduction, with working on your reputation, with working on innovation, and with establishing a growth path and developing totally new applications or constructions for mankind. So if we apply this to sustainable value, according to Art and Milstein, it's exactly the same tension between today and tomorrow, between internal and external. And then we are talking about focus on pollution, consumption, and waste. So if we can prevent this, if we can eradicate them, then we are creating sustainable and corporate value. Same goes for creation of product stewardship, creation of clean technology, and the creation of a sustainability vision. Now, that's theory. When we apply this to aluminum, then we get the following framework. If I apply this to our company and how we create sustainable value, we focus on what we can do on ESG. We are a member of the Aluminum Stewardship Initiative, and we are ASI certified, so guaranteeing our customers that we comply with all the ESG requirements currently in place. On what we can do on waste reduction, that's we there established closed loop recycling with some of our major customers, and yeah, we are continuously trying to extend on closed loop recycling, because closed loop recycling not only makes that material is not degraded and comes in lower worthy applications, it also assures that we need less energy. To give you a number here, recycled aluminum only uses 5% of the total energy compared with primary aluminum. So if we can further extend the recyclability of products, and in this case of aluminum, we are contributing twice to this quadrant. With respect to clean technology, of course, we make the switch in our company to green energy. We have solar panels, for instance, on our roof. We do a lot of other initiatives, but the main lever here comes from the reduction of the aluminum oxide into aluminum. And this takes place at the smelters. So we are not a smelter, we are an aluminum rolling mill. And for this reduction, they make use of carbon anodes. And this is for the majority of the CO2, let's say the product carbon footprint is for the majority determined by this process. So therefore, the sector is also changing technology, and they have developed inert anodes, but this is a process that's ongoing. And finally, with respect to what we can do for the society at large, and for I can here say that we are member of the Vito Materinex working group. I'm sharing there the common interest group on sustainable materials, and we work here together with other companies in the sector and with academia to further explore possibilities of, for instance, recycling, but also developing new materials so that the economy here in Flanders will continue or can continue with excellent products for the future, and with securing that our very good position that we currently have in Europe and in the world as recycling champions. So the link between sustainability and quality for aluminum duffel is more in particular if we can increase 1% in metal yield, so meaning that when we start from a slab, we have to cut off some pieces, and finally we have our end product. So if we can produce this material with less losses, 1% increase in metal yield equals 1% decrease in product carbon footprint. A second one is that we work on horizontal pre-competitive collaboration, which is focused on improvements in scrap sorting, but also by doing this, we also can guarantee a more consistent quality in the casting process. ESI is also already mentioned. We provide this. We are ESI certified, so guaranteeing also our customers that we comply with the ESG regulations. And what also was mentioned before, sustainability and quality are integrating, and the product carbon footprint is not yet on our certificate of our, so we put currently the chemical composition and the mechanical characteristics on our certificate, but it's not unthinkable that soon in time also the product carbon carbon content might also be put on the certificate, because it's really important for customers to deal with it. And we also take into the product carbon footprint into account when we design new products. So we first try to use as much scrap as possible. We try to integrate this in our products, and we try to avoid making products out of only virgin materials. To summarize my talk, so the key takeaways: the circular economy triggers many quality-related issues related to the butterfly model that we have discussed, and the creation of sustainable value is contributing to the creation of shareholder value. So we should embrace the sustainability transition, and this will further create, for not only for our business but for business at large, a competitive advantage. And finally, a topic that I haven't addressed yet, but which, as of course, as quality practitioners, you're aware of, is that also in the ISO 9001 on quality, that sustainability is popping in, and so with the amendments of 2024, climate change is popping in, but also in the future, sustainability and quality will further intertwine and will become also further a part of the quality regulation on the ISO 9001. So this is the end of my presentation. Thank you for listening.
So thank you very much, Dirk. Thank you, Barbara. Thank you, Ursula, for your presentation today. Now we would like to open the floor for discussions. And if you have a question, please raise your digital hand or put the question into the chat. And in the meanwhile that you prepare the questions, I would like to ask Ursula, so what are your first reaction to these two cases?
Thank you, Priska. Well, my reaction is, and I already knew it before, each business has to do to make sure that transparency is there. As Barbara said, as Dirk said, transparency in order to fulfill all these demands are key. And we saw it in both cases, I think. It was really, it were two different cases, and therefore it was also very interesting to see the progresses all these companies have to do and all the obstacles and they have to overcome to really do a good or ensure a good transparency in the cases. And I want to thank you also from my side to both of Barbara and Dirk. Thank you.
And before we get a question, I want to launch a question because I'm very curious. It's the Swiss context, the economic context has a lot of small, medium enterprise, so pretty small. Siemens and actually the company where Dirk is working, they are quite large company. And what would be your advice, Barbara and Dirk, for a small company when they are confronted with these big questions?
I think it's really the step-by-step approach. I know it's very overwhelming and the mountain is super big, but to just put the head in the sand and not do anything is also probably not the right thing to do. So I would really think focus, prioritize, and then go from there step by step. And in my opinion, also the exchange with other companies, also through associations, is super important because there is already a lot around. There are also companies to support here, especially for small companies. So I think also screening the market, what is already there, what could be beneficial is definitely also an advice I would give.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I would like to add that when you look to Europe, most companies are small or middle-sized companies. And when you look to innovation, they are most of the time very innovative. So I think they can play a major role in developing sustainable solutions. And as far as if I recall well, so the CSRD requirements are not applicable to them yet. So they only will kick in at the end of the story. So first, the larger companies are subjected to all these requirements. So I think they first should focus on the creation of sustainable value. What can they do? How can they make their products more sustainable? And how can they create solutions for that are more sustainable than the current ones, based on, for instance, where we currently have too many wastes of things, or where there are high risks with current products. So they are very well suited to make new products, and they are also eligible for a lot of subsidies, especially smaller companies can get more subsidies than larger companies.
Thank you. Anne, I see you have.
Yeah, Priska, I wanted to add something to this question because as much as we all need, I firmly believe as a person that every challenge is an opportunity and we should look at it as an opportunity, but there's a big risk with the CSRD that we sometimes forget that it's a means to an end. And I feel a shift in the discussion when I talk with businesses that a couple of years ago, everybody was talking about sustainability as an important priority. And now everybody's talking about being compliant with the CSRD guidelines and we forget that improving the sustainability of our organization is the main goal. So if you don't do anything and you do a little thing, that's still an improvement towards the bottom line. And sometimes I think that's being forgotten in the new discussion. It's not a new idea, but and I don't know if Willy van den Brand is still among us. He's one of our Belgian members who emphasizes that a lot when he talks about sustainability. It's about improving our sustainable value and not so much about being compliant with administrative systems. Thank you.
We have a question from Werner. It's okay if I call you Werner?
Yeah, I just wanted to quickly reply to Anne. I think that is inherent once you start using regulation to push things forward, in the sense that the people that were already involved in sustainability did not need CSRD. Any regulatory environment, whether it's about climate sustainability, even safety, is always put forward to drag in the companies that are reluctant and not the ones that were doing it anyway. But because it has in a regulatory framework will necessarily be restrictive, it is felt as restrictive, and compliance becomes a burden for the people that were already involved in sustainability.
I think you're absolutely right, but there we are in this situation with people being what they are. And I think what we need to do is say it out loud and make sure that everybody remembers what the mean is and what the goal is, and that we don't mix it up.
And I wanted to ask first, since there are no other, if anybody has a question, please raise your hand or write it in the chat. But on the same topic, when I am a small company, the first question that I ask myself is, first of all, is how do I understand this whole word that Ursula explained at the beginning very well? And at the same time is also what should I start to look for first? And last but not least, often I am a supplier of a larger company, so I'm obliged earlier than what I think to comply with certain rules. So the situation is actually a snowball ongoing. And at least from what we see at the SAQ is that the small company are asked by larger company to provide the information. And so they are actually entering into this all CSRD reporting from the perspective of the supplier, which is going to be our next talk. So the agile supply chain, because definitely this is one of the elements where basically a small company is touched very fast by those topics. Even before you think of, of how do I do my sustainability.
Maybe I can say something here, Priska. You are completely right, because even though the small companies don't have to report anything, they need to provide data. And they need to know which data they have to provide. This is why I said transparency is very important. And I think they also got to know from their customers what they have to deliver, and that's what I maybe also really wanted to say in the beginning. It's not something which goes away. It's something you need to deal with, and to start looking, how can I provide all this data? And that's so important. And if you want to start with the European Green Deal, I can only say what our CEO from Siemens always said: it starts at the top. That the CEO has to be ready to do the next step and to see it's not a threat, it's a business opportunity, as you said, Anne. So, and this is important.
And it's a strategic initiative that needs to be led from the top.
Exactly.
So we are talking not about a quality tool in itself, but we are talking about a strategic change where you have to really adapt your mentality also to how you collect data, how you run your company, in other words.
Exactly.
Any point from you, Barbara or Dirk, on that topic?
Not specifically. Yeah, since I'm working also in a larger company, it's I have not that much experience with smaller companies.
Yeah.
Yeah, our experience is really regarding getting the data from the suppliers, right? The smaller companies. So yeah, Dirk, you said for the smaller companies, it's not yet entering into force. That's true, but of course they are probably our suppliers. So it's somehow still already getting into the force when you work with bigger companies, right? You already get the questions, and yeah. And I think it's this snowball effect, right? What the EU also plays a bit with, that the big companies give the pressure the further down to the smaller ones. That's just the effect.
Maybe we could also emphasize here the role of business associations. Often they also provide for their members support, especially when you are a smaller company. If you can rely on the knowledge of such an association, it might be helpful.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's why we do also these talks, just to inform people and keep ensure that everybody is actually having the information that needs to move forward.
Yep.
So are there any questions in the audience? I don't know. So there we need Thomas, if there is anything.
Nope, nothing in the chat. So
Good.
I think if no one has any questions, everything's super clear. So we can.
I think it's a compliment for the speakers that there are few questions. Thank you very much. And as much to the speakers as to the participants. Is there question?
Nope, that was just
Okay,
someone saying that
confirming that
everyone
was
was
clear.
trying
Okay.
Yes.
I thought we had a last minute
Thanks,
question.
Annelies.
But so thank you very much. And we will see each other again in this context on September 25th, when we have our third combined webinar on the global supply chain. I cannot imagine that it will have become less complicated in September than today. So for sure we will have something to talk about. If you have any questions about the initiative or about the future webinar, please get in touch in Switzerland or with us in Belgium in Xelyo. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'll make sure that
Thank
everyone
you.
gets
Thank you.
an
Bye.
email.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you to all the speakers.
Thank you.